RHS Pre-calculus presents Welcome to Trigland, where all your graphs come true. You will learn how to graph sine and cosine functions in this video.
Bob was really excited to go to Trigland, where the sine and cosine rides were his favorites. After going on each of the rides, he passed a giant Ferris wheel that made him think about something. He realized that the Ferris wheel was like a giant unit circle, and that the cosine and sine rides were both really similar to each other, and were probably based off the unit circle. First, he looked at the sine of doom ride. He made a graph where the x-axis represented radians and the y-axis represented the sine values for each theta. Then, he plotted points based on the unit circle, like 0, 0, pi over 2, 1, and pi, 0. He realized that the graph then repeated itself, first going up, then down, then back up, like the roller coaster. The distance that it went up and down, called the amplitude, was 1 for the basic unit circle. The amplitude is given by finding the absolute value of the maximum value minus the minimum value, and dividing that by 2. For the equation y equals sine x, the graph also repeated itself every 2 pi, had a domain of negative infinity to infinity, and a range of -1 to 1. Bob was pretty satisfied with this, until he realized that the unit circle gave different values for cosine and sine for each theta. That would mean that the cosine graph would be different than the sine one. Looking at the cosine telluride, he realized it was really different. By making an x-axis representing radians and a y-axis representing the cosine values for each theta, he plotted the points for the unit circle. Bob then realized that the period, amplitude, domain, and range of the cosine graph were the same as the ones for the sine graph. However, the sine graph started at 0, 0, but the cosine graph started at 1, 0. He then realized that the roller coasters were also kind of different. They took the form of the equation y equals a sine, parentheses, bx minus c plus d, or y equals a cosine, parentheses, bx minus c plus d. Using this equation, a changed the amplitude, b changed the period, c is a phase shift, and d is a vertical shift. That means that if the roller coaster had a height of 100 units instead of 1, a would be equal to 50. The period of a graph is given by 2 pi over b. So if b was equal to 2, the graph then repeats itself every pi units instead. C over b gives the phase shift, changing where the roller coaster starts horizontally. D changes the vertical shift, or how high the roller coaster starts. Now that Bob figured all of this out, he is so much more excited to ride the roller coasters at Trigland. However, if C is negative, the graph shifts right. If C is positive, the graph shifts left. If D is negative, the graph shifts down. If D is positive, the graph shifts up.